I'm Stephen Quigley, your host of Doing the Dirty Dishes. Welcome. This is a spiritual podcast in which we speak about things that make you think deep, ponder the universe, your soul. This is episode 5, and it's been an interesting experience thus far. This episode is actually the first time that I'm speaking about my accident publicly, in my words, my story, as I saw it, of course, which is only one perspective. So it's titled "The Greatest Gift I Ever Received." Left for dead, found beaten under a train, and in the inner city of Philadelphia. And so it was just it was a bad night, to say the least. Nonetheless, as far as the podcast, I've kind of obviously not very good in production. It's not my forte. That's okay. That can come later, which is another episode that will come soon with some really amazing news. Some big developments going on today. So, of which is my birthday. So it's my birthday, and I get to do what I want. So I'm changing the format up a little bit. I'm going back more towards an older format, where I was more relaxed before I went on camera. You can interpret that how you want, for medicinal purposes, of course. But nonetheless, I just wanted to speak more off the cuff, and so that's what I'm going to do. I call it the greatest gift because ultimately that's what it has become in my life. But to think back to the accident, it brings to mind a parable, at least something that I remember from a child, and that I always thought was really amazing. And it's about the sower and the seed. And basically, if the seed isn't thrown in the right spot into the proper soil, then it will wither and die. It will fall on the rocky ground, and it will shrivel up, and it will cease to exist. But it's not about the sower. It's not about the seed. The story is really about the soil, and the seed has to fall within a nutrient-rich soil, and basically that soil is your life. It's your condition. It's the trauma that I found myself in when I was found under a inner city Philadelphia train, after having been beaten in an alley. And that probably doesn't make sense right now, because some of it still doesn't to me. But I'll try to explain that story and that night to you in this podcast. So basically, it's leading to, if you suffer a trauma, which in that sense, it's relative, because it could be something that doesn't have to be as catastrophic as waking up as a quadriplegic under a train. It could be you're struggling with a disease, or you have a fight in your life, weight, or some kind of addiction, drugs, alcohol. It could be anything. We all have a fight within us. If you don't have a fight, you're probably not human, or you're just not old enough to have experienced one. But they're certainly going to come, and they're only going to get harder as you go on in life. So get used to it. And if you fall down 7, get up 8. Okay, it's a Japanese proverb. But get used to it. And the more you go through them, and the more you succeed in overcoming them and working through them, the more that you gain, the richer your life is, the more you understand, the better your relationships are, the better you understand people and what they're going through and the pain that they have. Even say, for example, my father, who we've had a falling out. The part of me that's angry has forgiven him. The other part of me that loves him says that he's just another person that's out there. He's hurting. He's struggling too. He's trying to find meaning. He had a parent that, that he has to then psychologically go back and revisit his childhood, just like I have to mine. And it's of no fault to anyone, because of course a parent is only doing what he thinks is best for his child. So you have to accept that. But anyway, that's a different topic another day, which I may or may not ever get to. I'm not sure how far this podcast is going to go. I certainly will continue to write because that's my true passion. But if my birthday wish comes true, then I will be on this side of the camera in the coming months. But I won't be doing the production or the lighting or any of those other things that I'm really horrible at and I can laugh at. I can just laugh at myself because I know it, and that's okay. And I know the audience is a bit confused, and that's okay. I'm confused too. So hopefully I don't confuse you on this podcast, and hopefully it makes sense. But keep in mind the history of the story that leads into, or the history of the lead into the story is the sower and the seed, and you're the seed, and if you don't get the proper nutrients to get through your struggle or your fight or your trauma, in my sense, and the nutrients of self-love and forgiveness and compassion and fortitude and all those other fun adjectives, if they're not there, if they're not present within the soil, somewhere along in that process, then you know the result. So anyway, here's the story. So I had founded, through an investor, a very successful financial company in Center City, Philadelphia. We were basically well positioned after the 2008 financial crisis to step into a position to help the consumer through loss mitigation or litigation to help save values of their homes and people underwater. So we were trying to assist people through their process, and the company hit 7 digits in our first year, so it was very successful. I later would have that taken away from me, sued by the investor, robbed by my friend for $150,000, who now sits in federal prison with a 10-year sentence, Danny Sheehan. Just sad, he just a great guy. I grew up with him, and I don't blame him for what he did. He had an addiction, and it's a demon. I always tell people, this is of course a side note, but I always tell people that no one ever wakes up and wants to have an addiction. Your brother, your friend, whoever that you know in life that has an addiction, someone you meet on the street, nobody wakes up and wants to be addicted to drugs and says, oh man, what a bright sunny day. Wow, shit, I can't wait to just go get high as hell and just forget about life and all my responsibilities and be addicted to this. Of course, there's some other elements to that. It's not that simple, but the point is that whether that person's a murderer, an addict, whatever, if they had the proper love from their parents, for example, because self-love, it starts at home, right? You're taught that from your parents. So if you're never taught self-love from your parents, then, for example, and this is jumping ahead one podcast, but I'm not sure if I'll get past that podcast, and that's when it comes to recovery in a trauma like this, and you have family around. My family seemed to lack a lot of compassion for my injury and my trauma, and I've learned to not only forgive them for that, but to, from a spiritual standpoint, accept the fact that I agreed to that pre-birth, that they would not provide me all of the emotional support that I thought maybe I needed to get through it, or that I did need to get through it because I sought it through other alternative means like Dr. Rod Napier or Dr. Julie Roberts, who I'm forever grateful for their psychological help. So anyway, so the company was successful, and I decided to take out my Spanish translator to an Irish bar as a thank you for the holidays. We got some dinner. I think I had a beer, and had some Irish music. And then a friend phoned me. She was just a neighborhood or two away, a short walk, maybe a mile, and invited me out to go and celebrate my new company in the holidays. And she had some friends visiting from Pittsburgh. And she is a great girl, very a good old friend, and lots of fun to be around. And I love her. She's great, Ruth. And she was there for my accident after with her friend also, and they were really amazing in their support. So that will be addressed some other time too, probably in writing through my blog. Nonetheless, and forgive me about going back and forth. I don't expect everybody to have seen all the videos or to have heard all the podcasts, so I'm not that ignorant. But even though I'm sitting here and you cannot see a wheelchair, I still live my life with two wheels. I started, as you'll see in the story, ended up a quadriplegic. But that's not true now, obviously, and I'm going to walk, and that's also another podcast that was filmed already that you can find about synchronicity and meeting Per in Reykjavik, Iceland. But in any case, I decided to meet my friends in the old city of Philadelphia. We went out, we celebrated, holiday cheer, we had some drinks, it was fun, revelry. At around 11:40 p.m., we left the restaurant, and they lived very close, she did, and so her friends and her were able to walk home, and so they saw me into the taxi. I stepped into the back of the taxi, said, hey, have a great night, Merry Christmas, talk soon, something, reached in, tapped the driver on the back of his shoulder and said, take me to New Jersey. And then essentially, I don't remember anything until waking up in a trauma unit in the hallway, a cold, dark, sterile hallway in Jefferson Hospital in Philadelphia, Center City. Unable to move my body, only my eyes, and thinking I know I'm in a hospital or a morgue and I think I might be dead. And then turning my eyes to the right and seeing a priest. I couldn't feel, he had his hand on my arm, but I couldn't feel it because I couldn't feel anything below my neck. And I just knew things were bad. I knew things were in a very bad way. And so I said to him, Father, I grew up Catholic, so whether he was a father or not, he had a white collar, so I grew up with respect, and you call him Father. So anyway, I asked him, Father, am I dead? And he said, no, my son, you've been in a tragic accident. Whew. Wow. I can't say I wasn't surprised. I think my friends were surprised something like that happened to me in my backyard. They would have guessed it would be in Africa or South Asia or some crazy wild country. But there I lie on that gurney, unable to it was devastating news. And so I immediately went to the pity side. And thankfully, it only lasted maybe 10 seconds, so that's what it seemed like. I can't say for sure, it could be 10 minutes, but it seemed like 10 seconds. And at some point, a small voice came to me. And I don't know how to explain it other than what everyone else says. It's just a voice that just enters your head and you just hear it, and it just appears, and it's there and it speaks, and you hear the words. You can't speak to it, but it speaks to you. I have spoken to it, and that's a different story, an angel. But a small voice came to me and quieted me and just said, Stephen, yes, you have done it this time. This is a big one. This is a major accident. But there's good news. You will get through this. You're going to suffer, and it's going to be very drastic. It will be a lesson you'll never forget. But you'll get through it. And when you do get through it, you'll go on to do great things, and you'll go on to help people. And that was it. I never looked back once again. That was it. The priest wanted to go on and start talking about, you know, different things he was ranting on, and I just said, you know, Father, please, like, I'm already thinking about a solution. Please don't bother me anymore about these matters. My focus is there. I'm gonna walk. That's it. And I was determined right there at that point that I would walk again, and I've never changed that attitude deep inside. So anyway, so a few things later came to light through investigation, through reports, through lawyers looking at cameras and all these different things, that some other events occurred between the two, because obviously waking up a quadriplegic in a trauma center, it's no easy feat to accomplish, albeit the express train to boot. So I like train jokes, by the way. None of them bother me at all, and in fact, an old friend who I actually miss, and I'm not quite sure why the friendship really ended, but Russ Brown, who's a famous photographer from Philadelphia, was very generous and very nice to me, and he gave me two of his photographs on canvas, one of which he took 10 minutes after leaving me at McGee Hospital in Philadelphia on the 16th floor of some other building I won't name, but anyway, it's a beautiful picture. And the other one he gave me is of, I call it my lucky train photo, and it's a picture of the actual train that hit me. The high-speed line that travels between Philadelphia and New Jersey. But anyway, somewhere in between those two periods, you know, shit hit the fan. And here's what I know, here's what I remember, here's what I can reconstruct from my brain. I don't remember any events in the taxi. I just remember saying, take me to New Jersey, and then my memory went blank. Why? You can Google it. It's a psychological response, fight or flight of your body, that basically it's protecting you. It's protecting your memory. It shuts off your memory so you don't relive. You don't think it over. It's a protection. It's built into your system. You can't control it, and memories do creep back in. And there's a lot of discussion as to whether that's confusion for the person, that your mind playing tricks on you. You know, it could come to you in your dreams. There's so many different ways to view it and look at it. Sometimes your subconscious will feed you back little pieces to help appease maybe some questions that you're satiating to figure out or to ask. So whatever, and it could also be your mind just helping create a narrative, because, you know, ultimately this is a big simulation. This is kind of a big joke world in a sense, although it's very tough and it's not a great place to be. It's the shitty planet of the cosmos. Only the bravest souls attempt to come here. But anyway, which is interesting. I'd like to know what happened karmically in another life. You know, I think it was a violent killer personally, like a king or some big position where I was involved in some kind of huge violence. I don't know if that's directly related, but anyway, I believe in karma and I believe in karmic balance, and so obviously I'm in this wheelchair for a reason. And anyone out there who's listening or watching this who thinks that they won't ever be in one, well, you know, deja vu and relive things like me reliving this video. This is not the first time I've shot this video, so, you know, but that's again another podcast, which will most likely be a writing blog. I don't think this podcast is going to last too long, honestly, for good reason. And I'm not giving up or quitting. I'm going to still write because that's my passion. But production and cameras and lighting, you know, Einstein didn't have to teach me that, you know what you're good at and do it. And solo on camera is not my forte. Interacting with other people, comedic wit, sharp cutting, humor, spirituality, connecting with people, psychology, they're my true gifts. So being on camera solo, I'm not fooling myself. So I don't think anybody's going to cry when they can't see me on YouTube. Although maybe you'll see me on TV. So maybe that's maybe Netflix or something soon. You know, we'll see what happens. I'm not giving any announcements and I'm not talking about anything, but things are bright in the future. And it's all meant to help others and heal others. And if I can bring some laughs along the way, that's great too, because one guy wrote me on LinkedIn and he really ripped me. And he said, I understand if you won't be friends with me. And he was from Maryland too. He was a nice guy, actually. I'm still friends with him. I didn't delete him. But But he ripped me a real new a-hole. And he basically then told me that he charges thousands of dollars to do that. Oh, man. I thought about that. But anyway, I have coaches and I have mentors. One of them is a good friend of mine, Rod, who has a struggle of his own now. So I'm sending him love and light and energy. Big hug to you, Rod. You're such an inspiration for my writing and for my life, and psychologically and education, and just, but that's again another blog about mentors and elder males and why they fill that role. And it has to do with my father, basically. And I've always sought out older males at a young age to guide me because I couldn't get it through him. So he was incapable. Not that he didn't want to, not that he didn't try, but we never saw eye to eye, like I said, from age 3 in my book. So, and the truth of the matter is, and he'll admit it, nobody can tell me anything. If I'm determined and I want something, I'm going to do it, I'm going to get it. And that's not being pompous and that's not being cocky, but it's just, I'm one of those people that just has this inner flame of perseverance and fortitude, and it's what allowed me to recover from this crazy accident. So anyway, back to this story. So I woke up on all fours in an alleyway. This is my memory. And I remember being in severe pain on all fours like a dog, and knowing that stuff was really bad. Things were bad. I knew it was an emergency. I knew it was a trauma. And so my immediate thought was like kind of a training of a soldier. Get home, get safe. So the train station came to mind. People want to know, well, you're paralyzed by then. Okay, I was struck 3 times with a large, heavy, long pipe. Once in the lower back, broke it in half. Once in the middle back, broke in half. Then hit at a 45-degree angle on my neck, which is a kill shot, and popped 6 vertebrae. Adrenaline does crazy things to the body. When it wears on and when it wears off, it does lots of different crazy stuff. People can climb down Everest or up Everest with adrenaline with a broken back or neck. So when things don't make sense, other than spiritually, please Google or please think it over before being confused, because there's certain things that if you took 100 situations side by side, they would all have different results, because there's different reasons and we all have different journeys in life spiritually, okay? So I called 2 friends. We know this from cellular records, triangulation, okay? They didn't answer the phone. It was late. I was a bit of a wild guy, and they didn't answer, which of course I don't blame them. Then I don't remember anything. On camera, I show up at a train station 4 to 6 blocks later, unaware how I got there. I'm pretty sure I walked. On the camera at the train station, I go down the stairs like a normal person. My jacket is normal. In fact, my jacket was normal even after the train accident. It's a bit spooky. Only a small smudge of grease. My glasses were still on. My clothes were untouched. And I had 2 or 3 smears on each sneaker. Very weird. Anyway, I walk down the stairs naturally. I bebop down the next set of stairs. The next set of stairs, I get to the platform. I'm sitting there in the chair. I think I went and had a smoke. I think I took a leak. And, I was feeling good. It was the holidays. I was out with friends, having fun. And after about 40 minutes, no train had arrived. And suddenly, on camera, you see me rocking back and forth in very bad ways. And the adrenaline had worn off. I stood up, went to look to see if there was a train coming. Did not see a train. And so, I'll make sure it's still recording. I'm not so good with this stuff. Didn't see a train. Leaned back against a wall. And then on camera, like a light switch, I felled like a tree in the forest. Just like everything went off. I don't remember anything. I just remember standing against a pole. And then I do remember feeling a hard thud. A very hard, impact. And I didn't know why. I was confused. I kind of thought I was in a dream. I kind of thought my friends were playing a trick on me. That I was home in my bed sleeping. That's kind of what was going on in my mind. And then at some point, I look up and I see headlights coming right at me, head on, a train. And I know it's a train. I thought I was going to die. So basically my 2 words out of my mouth were, "Oh God." I remember saying that. And then I felt a gust of wind. and I rolled out of the way. You can interpret that how you want. To me, it's an angel. I'm sure of it, 100%, saving me. The driver swore that he ran over a young guy, but to his eyes, he would still see a body lying there or close before it was removed. Okay, so obviously I wasn't run over by a train, and I don't even think the injuries, other than broken bones and some other tertiary injuries, it came from the train accident. I don't think that at all. I think the true injury came from the strike. And there's multiple options that have run through my head for years, and it hasn't bothered me, actually. I don't care who did it, and whoever did it, I forgive them, and I may have deserved it. I very well might have. I could have instigated it. It could have been a driver for the taxi that I pissed off and then jumped out, didn't pay the fare, and he chased after me. Maybe I did the same thing, and he let me run off and think that I was okay, and then crept up behind me with a pipe and hit me. Maybe I jumped out of the taxi and met other people. But I don't know. I don't know how any of that happened. But in any case, it happened, and I woke up a quadriplegic. And basically, the story goes that if I didn't then go create the same conditions that I needed of love and compassion and forgiveness for myself, for my family, for others, for friends, for life. You know, I was a bit of a kind of a pisser before my accident. Not angry, but I was a bit kind of like standoffish, and I don't know, I didn't understand so much. I thought I did, but I didn't. So if I didn't then go create those nutrients, and I didn't go enrich that soil, I wouldn't have been able to recover. I wouldn't have been able to be in this position now where I'm going to walk in the future. Of course, there's a ton of people to thank, and I'm going to do that in another podcast. Uncles that helped me move, my mother, my father helped me, friends, just all the people that donated. It's pretty limitless. But that's another podcast. So I created those nutrients, and now I'm looking forward to walking. Of course, there's so many other things that could be said and should be said, and they will later in another blog. Really, it's probably what it's going to end up being, will be my writing, where I'll go through and I'll explain and talk about all the different amazing people, the people from the hospital, from my surgeon to my therapist, Elizabeth Watson, to even the manager of McGee Rehabilitation Center, Kara Owens, or as we call her, Owens. So, and to the people, that helped me in endless ways, in every aspect of my recovery, to get to where I am today, to be able to be on camera, to be able to go and travel around the world, and to help inspire others. So, so again, I don't think this is really my forte, and I think I'll probably do one more, and then I'll go back to just writing the blog. So thank you for joining me on the journey. The next one I'll do will be the thank you to the people that helped me along in my recovery to get me to this point. And then I think that will suffice, and I'll feel good about my YouTube channel video journey, period. I'll leave them up for people to enjoy in the future if they like. But in any case, thank you so much for joining me on the journey and my podcast. If you enjoyed it, please consider sharing it. You can find us on Facebook, where we have a Proverbial Wisdom page, which I think you'll enjoy. Go take a look. You can subscribe here for the YouTube channel, and please go to my website, doingthedirtydishes.com, doingthedirtydishes.com, where you can find photos of my travel. You can find friends that inspire me. You can find my travel blog, which is on hold right now, which I can't wait to get back to traveling. I'm trying to get back to Europe already, but I'm being held up with flights. So to my friends in my other home in Amsterdam, I'll be there in a few months with some amazing news too. Thank you, and please stay safe and healthy.